When I was 14, I was already in the main club of Zurich. So I was really focused, had already 4 times training during the week. Then all of a sudden in my family, a divorce, which was not easy to comprehend. And I had like a pain I didn't understand. Soccer definitely kept me in a good headspace that I could distract myself. When I was 18 and I played in the first year 16 games, you don't want to do mistakes because you can also go through this journey alone as a 18, 19-year-old. So I really tried to give my best, sacrificing for football so that I can reach my best performance. After morning training, I came home and I was like, I could actually just listen to a live stream from the church. The title was The Sabbath, the rest day. The preacher was mentioning that the rest day is made for us human and that God blessed it. All of a sudden, this question just hits me like, do I need to quit my career as well? My whole identity was soccer, like 22 years of just playing soccer, and it was really painful in some sense because I really wanted to know now if this is true. And I then said to God, God, I want to give you my life. I want to really find the truth. I want to follow you and I want to be with you. Please help me. And in this moment, for the first time, it just came out of my heart like, Jesus, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. And I said it over and over again with like tears dropping, and I just felt I don't want to do this anymore.
G'day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Science Radio. My name's Jesse, and I'm joined once again by my amazing co-host. It's Zanita. G'day, Zanita.
Hello, everyone.
Great to have you with us. And today, Zanita, we are not alone. It's not just the two of us. We are joined all the way from Tampa, Florida, a man who is a long way from home. It's Silvan Wallner. Silvan, g'day. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you so much.
Great to have you, man. You wrote an article for us appearing in the November issue of Signs of the Times magazine, South Pacific. And the title of the article is I Won't Play Soccer on Sabbath. Sylvan, you didn't grow up a Christian, you didn't grow up a Sabbath keeper, but am I to understand that you grew up from a very early age with a love for soccer, or should I say football, the real football? My father-in-law always says it's the real football, but I believe that you're making reference to soccer as an accommodation for the rest of us who are maybe not as in tune with the real football. So tell us a bit about that, and tell us a bit about your love of soccer growing up.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, soccer, football, but it's the ball which is on the feet, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
um, yeah, so when I was 4, my brother was in the village town playing for our team, and I was with my mom on the side watching, and then it came to pass that the trainer was asking if I want to join, and I just really liked this sport, and from the first time had just so much joy and loved it being with a team. And from there on, just always trained and kept being playing soccer as much as I can.
Mm. And you're in Tampa, Florida right now, but I do not detect a typical Floridian accent. So whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in Switzerland, in Zurich. That's where the beautiful mountains are and the mountain lakes. So I grew up there and actually just came to Tampa 3 months ago.
Yeah, you've been around the world in the last few months. You've been Zurich to Australia and now to Tampa. But take us back to soccer as a kid. What was it about soccer that you loved so much that you wanted to kind of make it your career?
I guess I was just a child loving sports, but watching the national teams, seeing how soccer can be on a high level enlightening fans, I just really wanted to reach this as well. I had a heart for being really determined and trying to give everything. So I just wanted to get better and better always.
So I imagine that for a lot of kids, something like sport it can be a constant in their life, something that they kind of cling to through hard times, through ups and downs, through uncertainty. You share in the article that your childhood took a bit of a turn when you were around age 14. Your parents went through a divorce. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you as a kid and sort of what was that process like?
So when I was 14, I was already in the main club of Zurich and played in the youth station. So I was really focused, had already like 4 times training during the week with a game on the weekend. And then all of a sudden in my family, there is happening a divorce, a split, which was not easy to comprehend in this age. I was just really feeling compassion. I had like a pain I didn't understand, but yeah, a kind of suffering. It hurt. And soccer definitely kept me in a good headspace that I could kind of deal with it and really distract myself during this time.
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned your dad got remarried and your stepmom was a person of faith. Can you tell us, like, I don't know, it sounds like you didn't grow up with a faith prior to that, or maybe you did, you can fill in those gaps. But how was that kind of having that influence or that new perspective in your household?
It was definitely a little bit a surprising situation because all of a sudden there's a new woman in your house. And before that, I had some Catholic influence. I went to some lessons. I've knew the Father prayer, but not much more. And God was not really a topic at home. So when then my stepmom came into our house, it was and all of these new things going on, really interesting and as well quite calm and nice because I really connected with her and she was also really patient. And when she started to say grace for lunch or for dinner, I was open and joined. And sometimes I was talking about biology then later on, and she shared some stories about the Bible, about some relation dynamics, which were always illustrations she wanted to refer on. So that was quite interesting.
So fast forward a couple of years, you're playing soccer more and more, and you're getting better at it, and you're also advancing. So tell us a little bit about you, kind of in your late teen years. What was your in to professional soccer? What did that journey look like from your teenage years into your early 20s?
So, with the age of 16, I already got with the first team, with the professionals in contact. I could train 1 or 2 times. And then all of a sudden, I could do a friendly with them. So, a friendly game, which was a huge step for a 16-year-old. And being in a grammar school, it's called like high school in Switzerland, and having like so many new things going on. And all of a sudden, with the age of 18, I signed my first professional contract. So the years were really like just new dreams reached, new achievements after and after, and already playing in the highest league with the age of 18. So it was quite overwhelming, but also super amazingly. So I was really reaching a height of emotions. I was just really excited, happy, thankful, but also you dealing with all this nervosity, with like worries. So it was quite challenging.
Mm. Yeah, tell us about those like nervousness. Now you spoke about this a little bit in the article, how the pressure of performing and playing well really got to you. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that was like?
when I was 18 and I played in the first year 16 games, it was always like a challenge that you don't want to do mistakes, that you are also just getting the feeling of playing in the highest level. But then when I did a bigger mistake and it was caught in the television, and then you get like the pressure from the fans, then I reached a low because all of a sudden the coach is like not using you anymore. So there I was really like hitting butt rock. Sorry. There I was really hitting rock bottom and had to deal with all these sorrows, all this pressure, and was really struggling for myself because you can also go through this journey alone as a 18, 19-year old.
How did you cope with those like rock bottom moments? Because obviously this is before you had a faith. So would you just keep pushing, keep playing? Was that kind of your way like to overcome that?
Yeah, it was really just trying to cover it. It was also you try to like block conversations or get away from like criticism because you knew you're always attacked, and you just try to push harder, to train better. But really it was about not confronting the bigger issues because I was like going alone through it, and I also didn't want to talk about it really.
Did you feel like when you were on the professional sort of circuit in your team? I know that there's, obviously perception about how athletes on teams work together and you have big egos and, all these dynamics. Did you feel like your teammates were there for you, or did you feel like everybody was in competition with each other?
Yeah, it was absolutely a competition. So you always had two, three players who also try to encourage you. But sometimes you have like two players on your position who are like in a rivalry with you. So you always feel them, and it's also so visible in the trainings. There's like, yeah, it's really with everything, with elbows, with words, everything is tried so that you play and not the other one. And that was quite the challenge because you really feel then this group pressure. So if you're lucky, you're having a good relation and have some vitamin B, but often it's the other way around.
I think a lot of people have a fascination or an interest with what your life might have looked like during that period, because I think from the outside perspective, it looks like athletes who are training to be like a professional sportsman, they are just constantly training. Was that like your situation? Were you just training like 24/7 around the clock, or were you able to maintain a bit of a life outside of that as well?
So I would say my life really looked like based on soccer, which was really, really amazing in some sense that it was quite cool to wake up, go to the training ground, eat breakfast with everyone. Then you go into the training, you do what you love, and have an afternoon session, and this quite repeatedly every day, preparing for a game. So I really tried to give my best and look upon nutrition, upon spending time with family, always sometimes sacrificing for football so that I can reach my best performance. And in all, there was always time, sometimes in the afternoon, in the evening, or on a Sunday afternoon. There were some free times you have, but really dedicated to get better. And this you tried every day.
Okay, so plot for us your journey from here. You mentioned that in your early 20s, you're looking at bigger and greater things, but then at around the age of 22, you have an injury and that kind of halts things a little bit. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so with the age of 21, I got a concussion. And after like 1, 2 weeks, I was back on the field. And then we were in the winter break. And all of a sudden, again, I'm not playing anymore for half a season. And during this time, we got a new coach, and I really tried to grow my character, grow in my personality, and also in the gym was spending a lot of time. And then all of a sudden, again, I injure myself for 2 weeks. So that was a moment where I was, I think, at an age of like realizing that I have a lot on my mind which I can deal with to get better and stronger.
Yeah, is this the period in which you, I guess, started to learn about motivation and learn about like perseverance and never giving up?
Exactly. So I really tried to research like what can I do? How can I improve? How can I grow? And through this, I read articles about courage. I listened to an evangelical preacher who preached about motivation, structure in life. And all of a sudden, I just felt a growth, a resonating to his videos, and in general, a better well being.
What was it, the motivation or was it the faith element that kind of grabbed you in all of that?
I would say it's a combination. My struggles in soccer, because I really tried to reach to be in the starting 11 and I made it, but then all of a sudden not anymore. So it was a motivation to just try everything. And then faith came into, and for the first time I felt like a structure and a peace, because I started praying about my issues. I started praying about courage. And for the first time, it's not just me alone overthinking, overanalyzing, but seeing like there is rest and improvement.
And you started reading the Bible and going to the church around this time as well?
Exactly. That was when I was injured for 2 weeks. That was a little bit more than a year ago now, was when I went to the church for the first time and was also just really interested into the sermon. It was quite resonating to my life. And then I decided I want to read the Bible. I want to change what's going on in my life.
Yeah, but obviously it wasn't at this point that you decided to step away from soccer. So you went back after 2 weeks, is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's I'm sure like it sounds like it's awesome what you were like reading and listening and watching. I'm sure that kind of like helped you with your soccer, with like the setbacks and the injuries and the expectations that you were facing. But from that point on, were you still very much like, I'm pursuing soccer? This is what I love.
Yeah, it was really interesting because when I started reading the Bible as well, I I really got like a question like, do I really want to pursue this? Like, do I really want to give everything now? And I came then to the conclusion that now I have to increase even more. And I really set the tone and told myself, now I give everything. Like, there is no excuses anymore. And that was like my motive during this time.
When you say you felt like you had to increase even more, what do you mean by that?
It was a mental battle to not let yourself be like down or like downrated in some sense, to really lift yourself up, to be in a state where you have like self-confidence and know that if something is not good, then I have to train more or I have to learn more, I have to read more. That was like, yeah, my push in this time.
It seems from your article that you felt like you got to that a certain pinnacle point because you talk about competing in Portugal against a massive club in the European Conference League, a club whose name I'm not going to attempt to pronounce because I will butcher it. Um, what was that like?
Yeah, that was really the peak of my career, because all of a sudden, from not playing with a new coach, trying everything, training harder, he just throws me into the game, and then we're competing in this European level, flying to Portugal. You're at the airport, you were going into the hotel, and you're just like, it's a bit surreal. It's like living in a dream and walking into the stadium with 30,000 people chanting, and you're knowing like, wow, this is now international. This is like seen everywhere. So you're just trying to be like fully in your flow, deal with your nervous system. But I really had a structure then and could really enjoy it and felt an excitement, yeah, that I haven't reached before. So that was really cool.
So it was almost like the payoff from all of the motivational stuff, from the hard work in the gym, from the mental mindset sort of training that you were doing. This was like, I've reached it. I've reached the pinnacle of where I'm trying to get after all of these setbacks, after the injuries, after, feeling down. Like it feels like for you, this is like the top of where you were trying to get to. Hey.
Yeah, that was really like a glimpse of like what it means to be on the international level. And I really enjoyed it, but still, I wasn't satisfied enough. I wanted to reach more. So I was really like, that's now the platform to reach a top five league. Now I really made it on the journey to grow and to become a top five league player if I keep going.
Yeah, it sounds like just listening to you and reading your story that this wasn't just a peak moment of your career, but maybe a peak moment of your life because you're obviously reaching career goals, but you're also learning about things that are helping you just improve as an individual. And you're also like learning about things in the Bible that are probably for the first time exciting you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. It
Mm.
was for me reading about the life of Jesus something that I've always looked at a little bit. Is this true? Like 2,000 years ago? And then when I started reading, it was just, oh wow, like this happened back then. And then so much wisdom in like, yeah, relation dynamics, in how to talk to people. And I just felt like I'm reading, and on the same day, I have like the same situations where I'm already feeling what I've read gets applied. So that was, yeah, really new for me.
So, all of this sort of in your journey is leading you to a new point, as a lot of soccer players often do. You get an offer to go to a new team, new opportunities. Can you tell us about that next step and what sort of happened after?
So all of a sudden, I got an offer from an Austrian club who wanted to transfer me. So that meant I had to change everything. I had to travel to Austria, and that was also really exciting. And after 1, 2 weeks, I was already in the starting 11 again, and just like moved the country and directly you're on the soccer path again, playing. But now really being apart from family, friends in a new environment, whereabout I really had then time for myself, especially, and be on myself. So that was really, really a new chapter for me.
And it was you mentioned that you were playing a game one Saturday and you were listening to a podcast or a sermon, I think, which is probably pretty routine for you, like as you're warming. I know when you see people come out of the arenas, they've always got earphones on and are listening to something to pump them up before the game. But that kind of had a big impact on you, what you were listening to that day.
Yeah, so actually it was in the morning after morning training, I came home and I was like, I could actually just listen to a live stream from the church. And I was just listening and was not thinking much, but then the title was the Sabbath, the rest day. So I was just interested, started it, was on my couch, and the preacher was mentioning that the rest day is made for us human and that God blessed it. And I've read those verses, but I never really understood it. And then he's mentioning that like professionals or some people change their careers for God, and that the rest day is meant to be with God as a sign. And all of a sudden, this question just hits me like, do I need to quit my career as well? And it was just like pondering upon me, and I was again in a state of like worry and couldn't really get what's going on. But this question was just so present.
So you go through a bit of a journey. How, I mean, to, not to spoil things, but people kind of know where this is going. You eventually decide that you need to quit soccer. How how long and what was the deliberation process for you like? Like I can't imagine that this was just as simple as giving up a job. Like this is more than a job. Soccer is more than a job for you at this point. I just want to get inside your head, if you don't mind. What's it like? What's the struggle in your head and your heart like at this point?
So when I was questioning myself about my career, it felt like really strange because I couldn't really get myself because my whole identity was soccer, like 22 years of just playing soccer and having this in my mind. So that I was in a state of a question if I need to quit, which was questioning my whole character. So it felt like a little bit like out of order, and it was really painful in some sense because I really wanted to know now if this is true.
I have to imagine that you're thinking as well, like, if I quit soccer, who am I? Like, if soccer has been such a massive part of my life, who am I going to be if I don't have soccer? Are you thinking that as well?
I always had the vision that if I don't reach the top five leagues, I will be 80 years old and I will regret it my whole life. So I was already thinking into the future that my identity will always be soccer, no matter what I will going to do afterwards. So that was definitely triggering me. Like, who am I? And in this situation, I couldn't even get like who I am. I just felt this question was like, yeah, really like overtaking me, and I really just tried and prayed to God, what's the truth? Like, what's your will, or what does this mean for my life? That were like my questions during this time.
I'm sure you probably also would have been asking the question and freaking out about what you would do if you didn't have soccer, because your entire life you've poured all your energy into soccer and you've basically played every day. You mentioned that your routine was just training, eating, sleeping. Um, so, yeah, I don't know if that was also a concern that you had while processing this whole thing.
I would actually say during this time, I was so much like in the realm of this question, what's the truth? That I was then at some point not even thinking anymore of the future or the past. So from the beginning, like, what does this mean, or how will this? It was just so confusing for me that I really went into my whole determination, dedication to the question, what's the truth now? And I just want to seek it now. I really want to find it out. And this then really made me take the Bible, pray to God, and just keeping searching and figuring out.
Can you tell us a bit more of that process of like how you searched for that? Like, was it as simple as just like the Bible is such a big book, and praying can be such a foreign concept for people who aren't used to doing it. So, what did that search really look like?
I would say I was wired in my head that I really try and go into overthinking. So if I then had a question which like was really pivotal for my life, then it's like turning around in your head. And when I was praying, that was for me trying to find God, to look at God as like almighty and um, God with all wisdom. So I prayed to him and just asked him, because like if I'm just looking on myself alone being in an apartment, it's like, where do I get these life questions or answers? So I try to ask God and just trying to reach out to Him. And this gave me a little bit of calm because I could talk about it, but still, I haven't had the answers yet.
So you mentioned in the article there is a moment where you're asking God, "What do you want for me? You know, what am I supposed to do?" And you open the Bible, and there is a passage that is sort of like a crystallizing moment for you. Can you tell us about that and what it was and how it affected you?
Yeah, for sure. So at the same day, listening the sermon, praying, feeling really uncomfortable during the game, in the evening, I was again alone at my apartment and pray to God and ask for answers. But I was just at the point where I don't get anything. Like I'm too much in my questions. I'm thinking way too much. And then I just took the Bible and was like, God, give me an answer, please. And just thinking quick. And I just put my finger in the Bible and I open it. And I'm at the second book of Moses, like really in the beginning of the Bible. And then I read the title, which was the Sabbath festival. And in this moment, I'm just looking into the Bible, and we're like, like in a movie, and read the verses. And again, I read what the pastor was saying about the Sabbath, the rest day being a sign between him and us. And I was just like, whoa, and couldn't really grasp it, but it was just too much for me, honestly.
Was that moment enough for you to be convinced, or did the search for answers and the wrestle continue from that point?
Yeah, this really then challenged me that I continued at the same evening to read in the Bible where are passages about the rest day. But I was still like too distracted. So the next day I decided to go into the forest, to go away to have time for myself and really connect and just feel calm in nature. And there then I had like a quiet space and I continued to pray to God. And for the first time, I really, really wanted to know the truth now. I prayed, God, please tell me your will. I want to see you and I want to hear your voice. But nothing really happened. And then I really reached the kind of like headspace where I was just yearning and longing for kind of like a love because I was like feeling so lost in my questions. And I then said to God, God, I want to give you my life. I want to really find the truth. I want to follow you and I want to be with you. Please help me. And in this moment, for the first time, it just came out of my heart like, Jesus, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I said it over and over again with like tears dropping and such a yearning and longing that like hit my heart so deeply that I haven't had before. And in all of those struggles, I then prayed, God, if this is your will, if this is the right decision, then I will do it. But if it's wrong to quit, then please intervene. And then I walked out of the forest and just like a lightness dropped, like I could really tell what's on my heart, say it out loud, process it, and thoughts came in like, I can quit tomorrow. I can ski, I can be with friends. But the next second is like, what? What's going on? Like, all my soccer career, like all my what? And yeah, it was not finished then.
Yeah, I really love this moment, and you wrote about it in your story. You were saying that before you were like your whole life, and you were saying this before that soccer was your whole life, and then you had this moment where you were like, oh, but I could go skiing on the weekends, I could hang out with my friends and family on the weekends, and it's almost like once you had that realization or that moment of peace, you could kind of see your desires already slightly changing. And I think that's a really interesting, cool moment.
That's true. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, to reflect on your story, Sylvan, because when we hear stories like this, the thing that people often say is, oh well, they've given up so much. Think of all they've given up and the sacrifices and all that sort of stuff. And I think that the changing of your desires, it's it's divine almost. Like it's like we can't do this on our own. Um, and I really truly believe that must be one of the key ingredients to for people like yourself to make such a drastic change in their lives. It's almost like, we can't do this on our own. We actually need God to help us to reorient our lives in his direction rather than the direction that we've chosen for our own. Does that
Yeah,
resonate at all?
that's exactly what I've gone through, because you have this own perspective, which was soccer. And when I question myself, I could be a sports teacher, you feel in your heart the pain to think away from soccer. But in this moment of like just mentioning my heart and crying to God, having someone to talk about it, then I really saw a difference in, like, all of a sudden I have like these two perspectives. I have soccer on the one hand, and another way which also seems quite nice, and you're like giving God a chance to talk to you. So I can really resonate. And what I've then really had to go through was to take a decision. And this was again for me not just easy, because you're having those moments, but you're again in the training, you're in a 2-year contract. And I kept seeking an answer and then was really like in between. So I then took the Bible again after some days of like not getting answers, because I still didn't want to believe it, or how should I know it's true what I'm experiencing? And then opening the Bible again, being at the index, and it's 3 times Sabbath, Sabbath year, Sabbath day. It was like you're searching an answer for your whole life, and finally you have it, and you really have it in front of you. And I felt God in this moment having such a joy, like you're searching an answer that means to change your life, and you feel joy. And I was just overwhelmed, and I had to really then understand this. But I was still in a 2 years contract at this moment.
Yeah, so tell us about the fallout from this decision because yeah, you just signed a 2-year contract. That's a pretty hefty legal binding sort of agreement. Uh, what was the reaction from your coach, your manager, the team when you told them what you were planning on doing?
So before going to my coach, I was talking with my family, who were also like surprised and had different opinions. But I really kept on my answers and were like, okay, that happened in October last year. So let's play till December. And then in the halftime of the season, try to find a solution. But in this week, after listening, getting my answers just in 1 week at the second game, I just felt I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I got everything I need to know now. I know I'm doing something wrong, and I want to be with God, what He tells me. And then I was just like fully determined, like, I take my decision now, and really wanted to take this step of these two perspectives, desires to go into the one I really feel my heart belongs to. So I then went to the sports director, and he was, yeah, quite like overwhelmed, and it was new for him, but they tried to understand. But then also the coach just on a call on the phone told me, do what your heart desires. And in those moments, I just felt like, how is this possible? That just everyone is so encouraging. Me as being the new project who can reach the top five leagues in a year or two. And it was just really that I could just walk out of my contract, and everything was brought to the point that my whole team was encouraging me, giving me support. And for me, it was really that God helped and gave me peace to just have so much courage to take this route now and to provide me with a good feeling and a trust and a good way that it's the right decision for me.
It's awesome that everyone responded so well. I know that after you made this decision and you told your coaches and your team and your family, your story went public. It kind of went viral in magazines and on social media. What was that like? Was the public sphere as supportive? No doubt that you got some backlash.
So yeah, that was probably the craziest time in my life so far, because I was feeling, will I be now the clown or what's going on? But I was like, I want to confess what I decided, and I'm standing for this because it's my own conviction. I did this fully by myself, and hearing and seeing this title that I quit my career to follow God, and seeing it over whole Europe, getting messages from Brazil, from Kenya, from Asia, from whole Europe, I was just like, wow. And personal messages were really nice. So people were like, wow, that's an amazing decision. That's really courageous and strong, with of course messages who were also against me. But I just felt for the first time in my life a peace, and I took this decision now, and I just felt that God is with me, and I get these messages and just felt so good and living a life I didn't know before, because I how should I have known how it is without soccer? But then being without soccer, and it's like just really, really enjoyable.
What has your life looked like since that? Obviously, you're not playing soccer professionally anymore. Has God continued to transform your desires since that point? And where has life taken you since you've made that decision?
Yeah, from there on, it was the question, what will I do now? Will I study? Will I work? I also then met the friend, went into a little vacation, but then shortly after, I really felt during my prayer, during my thoughts, that it would be really interesting to get to know more about God, to do a mission trip. And then I found a program called Arise, which is in Australia. And I really felt a continuously peace who guided me during this time of like new challenges, like a whole new journey. And again, it was just like so present that this is now the right step in my early age to go abroad. If or when, then now it's the best time. So then I did this decision in January 2025 to go to Australia.
I'm assuming that there are some people that will come talk to you now about soccer who know your story and who know a little bit about you. If people come up to you and, they're either a young person or they have a kid who's a sportsman or really into sports, um, but they're struggling with faith, what advice do you give people now when they're wrestling through some of the same things that you wrestled through when you were younger?
So my advice would definitely be encouraging to always look upon the joy and the fun in what we're doing. So to never lose this while doing sports, and just to really remember and trust that there is a plan for each and everyone, and that God is looking for the best and loving us, so that He really wants to guide us. So I would always encourage to pray to God and to seek for this, yeah, beautiful help that just gives peace and gives a direction that will be really good.
Earlier in the conversation, we were talking about that moment where you hit the peak of your career. You were playing really well. You had just been asked to join this awesome team that put you up in hotels and had you playing at big stadiums. And you talked about how you were experiencing all this joy and excitement at that time. Now, obviously, a lot has changed since then. And one would think, or at least I would think, are you finding yourself slightly bored? Like you had such a consistent routine of training and playing with a team of men who loved soccer just as much as you. And it sounds like you're a pretty fit guy who is passionate about self-development and growth and all those things. But now that things are normalizing, obviously you've just finished Bible school in Australia, but now you're settling into a more steady rhythm. How are you finding this current season, and are you still living in that joy that you spoke about earlier?
The time now is also sometimes challenging because now I'm living in America. I'm figuring out my life here. And you're always facing in life difficult phases, situations. And sometimes you go through questions again, like, what will I do? What's the right turnaround now? And I just felt during this phase now of new situations that I still have this joy and peace, because I know I did this decision a year ago and everything went well. So why not now? So this is like the hope and the joy I have, that I can always know, no matter what's hard now or how much I'm struggling, I know that there is always a light and a lightness if I keep going. So I still have like all these values and experiences I've had of determination and discipline, which I'm still using to really keep up, but also just with a yeah, new dynamic of a new situation that is coming.
Yeah, I love the passage of scripture that you chose to finish your article with, Mark 9:23 to 25. If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost? And I think that's really a wonderful way to sum up your journey, Sylvan, is you have reached the peak, the height of where you desired to get to, and you are in sight of reaching that ultimate goal. And yet you have made, I think, a decision that the vast majority of us will probably never have to make, that ultimate decision between, the pursuit of your life, your dream, and pursuing Jesus. And I'm really inspired, and I know a lot of people will be inspired by your story and challenged as well. I think that even if none of us have to give up a world class football career, there are still things in our lives that are drawing us away from God and that potentially can be in competition with following Jesus. So, man, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story, for allowing it to be an inspiration, a guide for many of us, and just wish you all of God's many blessings for your future. Because I think that often we frame these as, I've given up a career, I've given up so much. But I tell you what, man, if I have gained anything from an insight from your story, it's that God has an amazing plan for your life. And I just can't wait to see what that plan is. So thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's always a privilege to have these opportunities to talk about, and it was really beautiful with both of you. So also a huge thank you.
Well, thank you again so much, Silvan, for joining us. It's been awesome to hear more about your journey. For anyone who wants to read his story, you can find it in the November issue or on our website. It is titled I Won't Play Soccer on Sabbath. Thanks again, Silvan.